If you've ever played modded Minecraft before, there's a pretty good chance that EnderIO's conduits have made an appearance in some way or another. These block sharing pipes have become a staple in the modded Minecraft community for their effectiveness and compactness. This guide aims to cover the function of conduits so you can use them more effectively in your own worlds. To move an item or a fluid with an EnderIO conduit, you first need to have an inventory you can extract from. To do this, right-click the conduit connector and set its redstone mode to be always active. Likewise, enable inserting on another conduit to have items and fluids be pushed into it. Item and fluid movement is instantaneous with conduits, and has a throughput of 4 items per second and 250 milliliters per second respectively. Throughput can be increased by adding extract speed upgrades to the conduit, which will allow it to extract 4 more items or 250 milliliters per upgrade, up to a maximum of 15 upgrades. Conduit speed can also be downgraded, which can have its uses as well. By default, conduits will prioritize the closest inventory. To override this, the priority system can be used. You can change a conduit's priority via its GUI. Conduits with a higher priority will have items be inserted into it first until it cannot accept any more items. If multiple conduits share the same level of priority, the closest inventory rule will apply. Round robin is evenly distributing the contents of an inventory to multiple inventories being inserted into, such as a chest, and to multiple furnaces. Conduits support round robin. This can be toggled with the round robin button. Note that, however, EnderIO round robin is not true round robin. This is because it will push items out each second, regardless if there's enough items to match its max extraction amount. Generally, this will not lead to issues, but if it does, extract speed downgrades can be used to decrease the throughput to 1 item a second. Note that round robin will ignore priority and will instead insert items as it normally would. Channels are a mechanic which are used by ender fluid and item conduits. A conduit on a given channel will only interact with conduits on that same channel. A simple way to visualize channels is as if they are different conduits taking up the same space. Channels are a powerful automation tool, allowing you to effectively have up to 17 different fluid and item conduits in the same block. To change a conduit's channel, click the button directly below the Insert or Extract button. The conduit probe can be used to quickly copy and paste conduit settings to other conduits. Round robin and priority both work with channels as well. The basic filters are fairly simple to use, with both the basic item filter and fluid filter allowing you to filter 5 items or fluids each. To change a filter's configuration, shift right-click it while it is in your hand. From there, you can add items and fluids into the filter by either dragging them from your inventory or from GUI. The filter can also be set to be on either whitelist or blacklist mode, as well if it should match or ignore metadata. To use a filter on a conduit, open up the conduit's GUI and place it in the appropriate slot. Note that an additional button will appear once you do so. This will allow you to edit the filter's configuration. If you wish to duplicate a filter, place it in a crafting grid along with an empty filter. This will create 2 filters of that type. To quickly clear a filter, just place it in a crafting grid by itself. The advanced item filter is similar to the basic filter, but also gains the ability to filter by OR dictionary, MBT, and damage. Another important filter is the limited item filter. The limited item filter will allow you to limit the number of items that are allowed to be in a given inventory. This can be very useful for passiving, as it allows you to ensure that slots are always available. The other filters are situational, and are fairly self-explanatory. The enchantment filter will filter items based on if they have a given enchantment. The mod filter will filter items based on what mod it is from. The power filter will filter items based on their power, expressed as a percentage. The soul filter will filter based on a given item's soul, which is another mechanic in EnderIO. And the existing item filter will filter based on what is already contained in the attached inventory. Energy conduits are much less complex than the previously mentioned conduits, only able to insert and extract power. Energy conduits of different tiers are unable to connect to each other. Energy conduits store power within themselves. This is known as a power network, and can be checked with the conduit probe. The power monitor has the same functionality as the conduit probe, but it also has the additional feature of emitting a redstone signal based on the amount of power stored within your network. This can be used to disable a power-hungry machine when it consumes too much power from your network. Redstone conduits are used to transport redstone signals in a more compact way. Like with item conduits, redstone conduits also have the channel feature, allowing for compact and complex redstone connections. Toggling strong signal on will allow the redstone signal to activate any blocks that are adjacent to the one that the signal is being pushed into. You can also use a Yeta wrench to force an attachment to any block. In addition, redstone conduits feature their own set of filters. Most of these filters are based on logic gates, and will listen for signals on 2 channels. These include and, not, or, nor, NAND, exclusive OR, exclusive NOR. The Redstone toggle latch filter works as a T flip-flop, meaning that it toggles its output signal every time it receives an input signal. The Redstone counting filter will output a signal every time it receives a defined number of input signals. The Redstone timer filter will output a signal every time when a defined number of ticks pass. Remember, there are 20 ticks in a second. The sensor filter acts like a comparator, measuring inventories and outputting signal strength based on how full it is. Like a comparator, it can also read some other block states, such as cakes. With the main types of conduits covered, it's time to cover the other types of conduits, including ones in the main mod, as well as ones added in integration mods. Regular fluid conduits and pressurized fluid conduits should be avoided due to being rather underpowered. The regular fluid conduit has a gravity mechanic where fluids can get stuck inside the conduit, and both types lack channels or the ability to filter. ME conduits are enabled if you also have A2 installed, and act like ME glass cables. Note that they cannot connect to certain parts, such as buses or planes. However, they are cheaper than regular glass cables, granting a better return on materials spent if you use a 6 conduit binder, 1 glass cable recipe. If channels are enabled, the dense ME conduit will also be enabled, acting identically to its cable counterpart, and both conduits will obey channel rules. Refined storage conduits function like refined storage's cables, and like with ME conduits, using the recipe that includes the cables will grant you better return on materials spent. They also have the ability to import and export items fluids from your RS system, and support crafting. Open computer conduits are the conduit versions of Open Computer's cables. They support channels. Data conduits are used by EnderIO's storage system, which will be covered in more detail at another time. Gas conduits are conduits for mechanisms gases. They function identically to Ender fluid conduits, with the exception of using a gas filter instead of a fluid filter. With all conduits having been brought up, this guide comes to a close as we touch on a few other mechanics that are also important to conduits. Facades are used to hide conduits for aesthetic reasons. Facades come in 4 types: regular facades, transparent facades that do not render the conduit inside, and blast-proof versions of the above 2. Facades are painted in the EnderIO painter or are crafted, depending on if the facade painter mod is installed. Facades will be hidden if you are currently holding a conduit probe, or a Yeta wrench. The Yeta wrench has the ability to choose what type of conduit is rendered when held, as well as insta-breaking conduits.